So here's the most powerful tool I will ever be able to offer you of how to take back the reins of your life through the power of choice. I am Baruch Halevi, also known as B. I am co-founder of Soul Centered, a spiritual center for meaning, purpose, and healing in the afternoon of life. That's the second half of life, midlife and onwards. And it is a time in life when we get to take back our power. We get to live more impactfully and purposefully, consciously than we could ever have imagined in the morning of life if we come off of autopilot. I draw my wisdom from many sources, not the least of which is Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, that says we are here to choose, and that is our superpower. That is how we become co-creators, through exercising our choice. I am a student of Dr. Viktor Frankl, a logotherapist, meaning-centered therapist. His thesis, proven out in his response to the Holocaust, having survived the Holocaust, is that we always have a choice, and when we choose, we find meaning, we find purpose that will get us through any situation, any amount of suffering. But the tool I want to offer you is how to apply that to my life. As beautiful as Kabbalah is, as wonderful as logotherapy is, to me that's the fuel to drive the car forward, but we still have to know where we're going. And that's when I turn to the Enneagram. The Enneagram, maybe you have seen this before. Usually it's without the butterfly, but I'm into butterflies. Why? Because butterfly in Greek meant psyche. That was the word for butterfly, and so it's the psyche, and psyche originally meant soul. So how do you come alive in the afternoon of life, become the butterfly? Through choosing. And that's what this is all about. I am trained in the Enneagram. I've been studying it and utilizing it for 20 years now, trained in it a while back, and apply it to my life and to my clients' lives. Why? Because what you're looking at it's not a personality assessment. Oftentimes it's compared to Myers-Briggs and StrengthsFinders and other wonderful personality assessments. The Enneagram has a personality quality to it, but the 9 types, Ennea means 9, are 9 energy patterns that we all have to varying degrees. Think of this as, you have all of these patterns within you, but you default to one. And when I say energy patterns, what do I mean? I mean, where do you go in your life? Yes, your personality, but also your thinking, your feeling, your wisdom center. Are you your mind? Are you heart? Are you gut? So many different nuances of who we are. All of those things are energy. Which one of these do you gravitate towards on autopilot? So many of the personality assessments are, I'm an INFJ in Myers-Briggs terms, and that's kind of who I am. That's my personality. But what the Enneagram is saying is I happen to be an 8. I'm an 8, the active controller. Now that's not who I am. That's where my energy goes to when I'm on default, when I'm on autopilot, when I'm reacting in my life to any given situation. I react as an 8. I'll tell you more about how these play out. I'm going to go through each of them, not today. I'll go through each of them on the series. But the bottom line is, when I'm not awake, I'm not conscious, I end up acting like an 8. Dr. Frankl says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom, our growth, our happiness. Continues on. Between stimulus, when something happens to us from the outside world, and our response, there is a space. When I don't have space, in so many ways, when I'm not making space, taking space, when I'm reacting, I react as an 8. I just go to that place, and that's my default. You might go to a 1 or a 9 or a 6. The point right now is that this is a way to take back the reins of our life, to take back the power of our choice by expanding that space. So that when I know how I react, when I know the patterns, and for instance, 8 is about taking action. It's about taking the sword and going off into the fight and wielding that sword to fight for injustice, and sometimes the injustice is just my own perceived injustice. It's not actually an injustice. So sometimes I'm out swinging the sword because it's the right thing to do and I've chosen it, and other times I'm just reacting and I'm getting into a fight with Ariella, with one of my kids, with the person in front of me in traffic, because that's how I'm reacting. Now, I used to tell myself that's who I am, that's what I do. And now in the afternoon of life, as I've done this work with the Enneagram and thought about it, I don't want to react like an 8. I want to go into that space that Dr. Frankl talks about. I want to expand that space. On the other side of that space, I might choose to respond like an 8, but you know what? I might go over to my 9, which is a much quieter, softer, less confrontational space. And I may say, I'm going to choose to respond to the guy who just cut me off in traffic, not with giving him the half peace sign, but giving him the gesture of, you're welcome in, no problem. Now, other times I may choose to respond by saying, no, that's wrong, you can't do that, but it's a choice, and that's the point. We use the Enneagram to fulfill Dr. Frankl's idea that between stimulus and response, there is a space. This is the space. When you start exploring it, you start understanding the difference between reacting and responding. I work with people in going into this to understand the power that they have from a Kabbalistic perspective of choice, the imperative that they have from a logotherapeutic perspective to choose, and the roadmap of how to navigate this life to expand your space so you can stop reacting and start responding through the Enneagram. That is the choice. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the Enneagram as I get this series rolling. So stay tuned for many more. You can jump over to mysoulcentered.org, where you can learn about everything that Ariella and I are doing right now, or join our Facebook page and Facebook group, My Soul Centered. Until the next time, namaste. Keep choosing your own way.